Going? Hey!
We're good to go, huh?
We are.
We are good to go.
What's going on, everyone? This is Cause Defect, the show for serious conversations with not-so-serious people.
Yeah.
You are here with Brennen, Jones, and Chase Duncan.
That's right.
Episode 19.
19.
Today, we're going to lighten it up. We've been doing a lot of conspiracy theory stuff, lots of heavy lifting as of late. So we are going to jump into something a little lighter, both literally and figuratively, in veganism.
Yes, and in all ways, it makes everything lighter.
That's right.
I definitely have to say for myself, just with the current state of the world, as well as all the things that we've been talking about, me personally, I've noticed that the further you dig into corruption and bad things about the government.
I think this camera's in the view. It has to be. It's so close.
Yeah, you can back it up a little bit.
Keep talking.
Yeah, should be good. All right. So anyway, sorry. With everything we've been looking up, as far as, we've been getting into, I know we said we talk about the deep state, I think, this episode. We've talked about information control and Hollywood and child sacrificing and everything. And, we continue to get further and further into this. And then the majority of my day is thought about or is filled with thinking about terrible subjects and things.
So we're depressing ourselves for you guys.
Things that are kind of corrupting my mind a little bit. So, Jay and I work together to come up with something else that we can talk about that can be beneficial for everyone in times where things are so nasty right now. Hopefully we can shed a little positivity.
That's right.
It's just kind of what we're going for. So we're talking about veganism today.
That's right. It'll be much more superficial of a subject. Well, I say superficial. It won't be superficial. We're gonna talk. There are some serious benefits to going vegan, and we'll talk about that. Mm-hmm. There are also some drawbacks,
of course,
like there are with everything. But it's not as much of a thinker this episode. So
yeah, no, you won't have to do a bunch of research or anything. I mean, you can definitely, but let's start every episode like we do.
Yeah.
Beer of the day.
H2O.
Is some good water. It's fitting for the episode. Not that happened on purpose, but
my favorite.
But yeah, so when you start drinking beer multiple times a week, you notice this big, when you're wearing just like a normal t-shirt, you notice this huge ring around your belly button. Where, how fat people have. I'm sorry, I go
looks like
too
a
far.
donut.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
gonna say not everybody has a ringworm, Brennan.
Yeah, no, I get the donut around my belly button when I get chunky real easily.
Fat ass.
So less beer and more water. It'll help
right.
me lose weight.
That's true. So drink more water.
Yes, drink more water.
Not because Aquafina told you to.
No.
Because we told you to.
Yes, and we are the knowers of all information.
That's right. So we're actually gonna start off today with a game called Did You Know?
Did you know? Played it multiple times.
Yep. This is where we introduce facts, whether they are faux or not.
Yes.
And the other person has to guess whether or not they are true.
That is correct.
So we're going to start with that, and I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm going to go ahead and go for my first one.
Let's see what you got.
Did you know?
Yes.
That some cats are allergic to people?
I can imagine that being true.
It's true.
Yeah, I can.
It's true.
I wish all cats were. Number one, did you know that koalas have fingerprints?
That sounds real.
Yeah, it's true.
Word.
Apparently. I mean, I haven't done the experiment myself, but this one website said it was, so that's good enough for me.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, yeah. My fun facts are the ones that are true, at least, are courtesy of goodhousekeeping.com.
I totally did not even look at the website I used.
Did you know that Curious George was originally going to be written as a dog?
False.
That's false.
Yeah. Right. I just think Clifford, I think that's the same time area.
I was going to use that, and I was going to, if I had added that might have fooled you, because I really was going to say that they made it a monkey because of Clifford. I would have
gone with that, yeah. Damn. For sure.
Okay.
All right. Did you know that humans are one of the humans are one of the 15 different humanoids to ever live?
That's got to be true.
Yeah,
there's at least 15 humanoids. There were more than that.
If that was on, that'd be crazy. But I just made up a number.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think 15 is the right number, but there are a lot of them.
I really only thought there would be like 3 or 4.
No, there were more.
Cool. Gotcha.
Right. Did you know that camels with no humps are actually called waffles?
I think those would be called horses.
Or mooses.
I'm gonna say false.
It's false.
Yeah, I've never even heard of that before. Are there camels with no humps?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know, though.
Yeah, I don't have a clue.
I don't know where I was going with that one.
All right. Did you know that Volkswagen makes the most expensive car in the world? I'm not good at.
Wait. So can it be like a sub make?
Mm-mm.
Volkswagen.
Just Volkswagen.
That's false.
Yeah, it's false. It's Rolls Royce.
Because I was gonna say, I was gonna guess Maybach, and then I
Nice.
thought like they might have been a subsidiary. Okay, nice. Did you know that 4 times more people speak English as a second language than as a native one?
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Most other countries actually grow up learning English.
Mhm.
For some reason, we've imposed our will
Right.
across the entire world.
That's imperialism for you.
Every other country pretty much speaks English because of us.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Did you know that 3 teaspoons of raw nutmeg can not only create hallucinations, but can sometimes be fatal?
I don't give you credit for making that up.
Yeah, you shouldn't. Apparently it's true. Yeah.
Nice.
So it's like all kinds of like nausea, and it can last for days.
Interesting.
Just pure nutmeg.
You trying to go get high on some nutmeg?
Yes, let's see what happens.
Let's do it. I probably have some.
This is the one connection to the true earth.
Did you know that you can major in fecal matter at Cornell University?
Somebody's got to do it. Yeah.
It's false.
I think that somebody has to, like, there's a lot of shit out there, literally. Like, someone's got to.
I was going to say, yeah, lots of different chemical compositions.
Yeah, there's got to be somebody that pulls it apart. All right, last one. Did you know that Mcribs from McDonald's contain about 70 different ingredients?
That sounds true.
Yeah, it's true.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
And like 30 of them are poisonous.
Bro, I don't know how people still eat those things. My last boss at my last job would rave about the day that they came back.
Yeah.
Like it was his favorite thing.
Man, I do remember a special promotion from McDonald's back in the day that I actually really liked, and I was sad when they took it away and they never brought it back. It was like a pepper jack chicken flatbread or some shit. It was.
Wow, I don't remember that.
I mean, back when I was a kid and I didn't know any better, I liked it a lot.
That was probably ahead of its time.
Yeah,
I don't think people were ready for that.
Probably
I think
not.
nowadays maybe so. Yeah,
It was dank. Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
All right, so let's talk about veganism, since we were just talking about McRibs and
Well,
McDonald's.
I have never had a McRib, and I never plan to.
I haven't either.
So let me ask you, Jay,
Let me hear it.
from someone who has some experience under his belt, what is veganism?
Well, veganism, for those of you who don't know, is when you cut out all animal products of any sort from your diet.
Byproducts as well.
Right, anything like that. Also, some people take it further into their lifestyle and cut it out of anything that they're consuming, whether it's leather goods or anything that may contain an animal product. They cut it out.
That would be a real bitch move to be eating a salad with a leather jacket on. Like, what the hell?
Unless it was like a hand-me-down from your grandpa or something. And it was very special to him. He like fought the Koreans in that bitch. And
yeah. So essentially, it took my brain a second to Koreans. Like, what?
I don't know why I brought up Korea.
So basically, vegans don't eat any meat. They don't eat any dairy or anything that comes from animals. Not even honey.
Yeah. Nope. You're not allowed if you're a strict vegan.
So let me ask you this question, knowing that. Why do people hate vegans so much?
Well, because it's like it's like asking why do people hate hipsters, you know?
Yeah, true.
And
I can answer that.
Some vegans can be incredibly pushy.
Yeah.
People don't like pita, which I kind of understand.
Yeah. Pita bread.
Yeah. Well, for those of you who don't know what PETA is, it's People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
Yeah. Not pita bread.
Right. So they're the ones that they really like riot at zoos and that kind of stuff.
Bro,
which is a whole different
they're
topic
insane.
altogether.
I heard that they're trying to change animals from being called pets to companions.
Good Lord.
But I don't know if that's true. I just heard that through the grapevine. So sorry about that.
I mean, even people have pet names. Like,
yeah.
Come on. Sugar bear.
Yeah,
All right.
it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I asked that question. It's just because it's like for some reason people that are vegans feel the need to tell you that they're vegans and to explain it without it being prompted or anyone asking them the question in the first place.
I can see that. And I can only imagine that some people who are vegan may have this holier than thou aura to them. So that when they talk to somebody who eats meat, they're talking down to them essentially.
Yeah, and that's already bad. But on top of that, I somewhat understand it. Like, I don't eat a lot of meat myself anymore. I'm definitely not vegan, but pretty close to it. Or mainly just vegetarian. Anyhow, but when you talk to someone that's like, they do eat meat 3 times a day and they do nothing, and people don't think about where it comes from because they don't see it. They just buy it at the grocery store. Like, there are huge factors behind why people don't eat meat.
Yeah.
Not that they should be throwing it in your face, but I can definitely get why, someone that doesn't eat meat and looks at all the problems with the meat industry is going to look at someone that gorges on meat multiple times a day and go like, you dumb fuck, like, you're a problem. Mm-hmm. And you're an ignorant problem, because most of those people are going, I love my meat. How am I supposed to?
I don't get my protein without meat. How do you have a filling meal without meat?
Right. Which actually leads me into my first point. I don't know what your first point was going to be, but I'm going to jump over you real quick. And just I just wanted to throw out some of those just blatantly obvious misconceptions about veganism or being a vegan. I'm
sure there's plenty of them.
Which is, number one, how do you get your protein if you don't eat meat?
Well, allow me, please.
Yeah, please.
So protein, if you don't know anything about it, all protein essentially comes from plant matter. You don't, as a human, produce your own protein, and neither do the animals you're eating. They get it from the food that they eat, and then you consume it. So when you eat meat, you're eating a concentrated form of protein. It is more concentrated, but you can get just as much protein from the equal amount, gram-wise, I guess, from the equal weight and caloric content or any of that sort of stuff. And a comparable amount of plants will give you the same amount of protein.
Right. So you're telling me that the protein I get from eating a piece of chicken doesn't actually come from that chicken?
No, not at first. It comes from the corn or whatever.
Or bullshit it's fed.
Or the leftover chickens that you fed that chicken, or which I'm sure happens.
Yes, that makes me sick to my stomach. Mm-hmm. So I think protein is like the number one thing that people ask about, like when people aren't vegans. Mm-hmm. But there's a couple other nutrients that I think is the misconception as well.
There are a few.
Iron being one of them.
Yep.
Essential fatty acids, such as like omega-3s. Mm-hmm. And like vitamin B12s and stuff like that.
That's one of the biggest ones that can be a problem.
So why is that a problem and protein's not?
So B12 is something that is... back in the day when people were eating their plants or whatever, they would either get it from the dirt. This is what I read online. Maybe I'm wrong. From the dirt on the plants. And now we have to wash everything. So the dirt the dirt contains essential nutrients for the plants themselves too. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that potentially came from the dirt. That's the only thing I know, actually. And I may be wrong about that. That's just what I read online. I'm at the mercy of what I have at my disposal.
Yeah, I've saw something, and I don't know if it's true, but like certain vitamins, I think maybe B12 included, are only produced in meat.
Yeah.
So when we
I didn't know that. I didn't want to say that because I didn't know it.
Yeah, and I think I read it. I didn't write it down. But a lot of these vitamins are only come out of meat, so that's the only place we can get them. And because we've kind of conditioned ourselves and evolved this way over however long we've been eating meat now, you can tend to get a lack of it or deficiency of it.
Right.
So you can take supplements. You can take B12 supplements and things like that. What?
Mm-hmm. And you should, because a B12 deficiency over a long period of time can develop into something more serious and something permanent.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you need to be conscious of that. Not only because it can be a problem with your health, but because it can be a problem with your energy. If you know nothing about vitamin B12, they have B12 shots in the gas station. Those 5-hour energy shots, that's B12.
Yep.
It helps you get energy, and it's part of what makes me okay with not having coffee in the morning.
So I wonder where the misconception came that like we need meat. I don't.
Well, so some people back in the day probably did need it, especially people in northern countries specifically, where they didn't have a lot of plant matter to eat because there's not a lot of plants that can grow in that soil. Like specifically in Russia, all they have is potatoes. And Ireland, Greenland, all those kind of. Oh, I don't know how many people live in Greenland. That place is a fucking desert, except for like on the coast. But any places like that in the north, the only thing that they have is grass at their disposal, so they can graze their sheep or whatever and then eat the sheep. So I understand from that perspective that people may have needed meat, but you don't actually need it. Biologically, you don't need it.
So you can get everything pretty much that you need out of a plant-based diet.
Right.
I think another thing too is when people move to America, think about like the millions of bison that were roaming and all the other animals that we had.
And it tastes good too.
Yeah, it tastes delicious. They could fight them. You can make clothes out of their hide, and you can use it for the huts that they made, like teepees and shit. Like they have a lot of uses to them, but there comes this definite misconception nowadays where like you have to have it or you're not going to get the nutrients your body needs, and that's just completely false.
Right. And I'm not going to be on here advocating for veganism. I will in some ways because it has its obvious benefits, which I'm going to talk about. I will more or less advocate for you to even reduce the amount of meat you eat, because not only is it healthy for you, it's going to help the environment, which we'll talk about at some point. But eating a shitload of meat, especially red meat, can be really bad for your cardiovascular health.
It can really bad. And is really bad for you.
Yeah, I mean, and that's corroborated by doctors all over the place that eating a diet heavy in red meat and cheese and all that kind of stuff will fucking kill you. That shit will give you heart disease, and no wonder Americans have such a high risk of heart disease. It's because of our diets.
It is insane, and it's something I personally was never taught it growing up, and I even grew up on pretty much like a farm where we had vegetables growing all over, like cornfield, like all kinds of that. So all of it was around. But I still ate hamburger helper and hamburgers and french fries every night, or chicken and like there was always meat involved. And as a child, of course, you never stop to think like, is this exactly what my body needs? If some child was thinking that, I'd be kind of blown away.
Really?
But you're just conditioned to think that that's normal, and it's not necessarily, or it's not necessary. And again, I wouldn't advocate for people to be just vegans, but if you can supplement some of the meat with some vegetables, that's not only better for the environment, it's much better for your body. You'll feel, like you said, you'll feel better. You maintain your weight better. You won't be depressed as much. You'll have more energy and stuff like that. And I saw where this Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, they basically said that American children often have fatty streaks in their arteries before they even finish high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's just something that goes understated, is the importance of your diet, because I really don't think that's central in Western medicine.
Yeah. No, I think you nailed it right. Just Western medicine, all I think is large pharmaceutical companies.
Right. It's like it's treating symptoms, really.
Yeah, exactly. That's a huge problem, and I don't even think that I knew this. Maybe somewhere deep down I knew it and I was just avoiding it. But a lot of people don't think that, whether they have like low energy, whether they have like acne, whether they're, depressed, a lot of these things that you find wrong with it, like gastrointestinal issues, I'd say 90% plus of that is your diet.
Yeah, really.
And it can be fixed by just changing your diet.
Right. And it sounds like this mystical thing, like, oh, you change, because
where are you going?
No, I have a thing behind this. I mean, so there's a guy that got pretty much shunned by a bunch of people, and he's not the only one. I don't remember his name. I didn't write it down in prep for this episode, but it was an Indian guy that came out with all these dietary tips and whatever.
Yeah.
And I feel like people have started to shun that kind of thinking and see that as like this mystical thing. Oh, you change your diet, you be fine, you be good, eat more lemons, whatever. But it's it's actually it is actually what makes you as a person.
Yeah.
The food that you eat is what is your building blocks. It's what makes you you.
Yeah, exactly.
So how could it not have an effect on your health? How can people just ignore that? I remember I went to the doctor for a health issue and an inflammation issue, and I was asking her about my diet and what if she knew anything about that, and she said, she looked at me and laughed and said, there's not really any scientific studies proving that. There's nothing really backing that.
What?
Yeah, and I was just like, okay.
There are like studies upon studies about like how certain, I think like turmeric and certain things like that. What's the spicy one that I don't like? Ginger, stuff like that can decrease inflammation and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not just like, it's not an overnight fix. It's not like you take a ginger pill and the inflammation goes away.
Right.
Ibuprofen can do something like that. So when you compare ibuprofen to ginger, it's obviously not going to be the same effect. You have to like incorporate ginger into your body and that kind of stuff. So you have to consume it over a period of time.
But a lot of that inflammation may not have ever started though if you weren't ingesting chemicals and bullshit 24/7. Like you said, going back to like, those are the I don't want to say like constituent particles of who you are, but essentially is what it is. You're intaking stuff and it becomes what your body is. If you're intaking a bunch of processed chemicals and things that are made by some guy in a lab coat, that's what your body's becoming.
It only makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and it's not at all natural, which is why it's made in a lab and none of us can understand what the ingredients are.
Yeah. I mean, what really kills me is people are so like, oh, battle cancer, whatever, like cancer sucks. And yes, cancer sucks, but people don't consider the roots of cancer. I mean, you can see, this is my thinking on it. You can see where, especially with regard to like KFC and stuff like that, they feed their chickens growth hormone like crazy to make them grow faster so that they can pump them out faster. Same thing with the cows. They give them growth hormone. What is cancer? Cancer is cells growing faster than the body can handle.
Yeah.
If you're intaking constantly stuff that has been fed growth hormone, how do you not connect the dots?
Yeah,
there?
that is what's in your body. That's what's coursing through your veins now.
And like I looked up a couple of, in my research today, I came across a few doctors writing articles about veganism or whatever, and cancer is connected, certain specific types of cancer is connected to processed meat and processed food.
Oh man, it makes me sick to my stomach, and here's where I don't want to come across like I'm talking down on anybody that eats meat or any of that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
I'm not trying to be pretentious,
how we make changes.
But honestly, I will tell you just from personal experience, you know, I went through quite a period very, very recently where I kind of just didn't give a shit much about my diet. I was just kind of just letting myself go. And, you know, for you don't notice much of an appearance change. But for me, I get fat real quick. So eating even Chick-fil-A, I know it's delicious. We all know.
That's great.
Eating that every day, drinking beer all the time. Like you don't notice that you feel like a big pile of shit until you come out of that.
That's right.
And it's like you're in this kind of gray fog that you don't even realize you're in. And then as of recently, I've eaten pretty much nothing but vegetables and rice and things that are really good for me, and drink tons of water every day. And you feel so much better. Like you look back, or I look back of just a month or two ago and go, holy shit. Like I literally was just a walking grease ball, just filled with fucking fried chicken and pickles or some shit. I don't know. And I felt like shit. I had no energy. I can't get up in the mornings. I don't want to go to the gym. I have acne all over my back. Like it gets gross. And then within 2 weeks, man, my energy shoots up. Acne's cleared up. I want to go to the gym. I have all this energy, and my brain feels just more clear. I can think about things. I can carry on longer sentences without forgetting what I was talking about at the beginning of the sentence. And one of the great things about your body is that it's elastic, right? So it can bounce back. You know, if you ate for 20 years pure bullshit, you're going to have your problems, but your body can bounce back from it. So it's never too late to change and to...
It's not too late. It's never too late. You're welcome.
We'll edit that out. Just kidding.
No, please don't. The people want to hear me.
again, I'm not saying change as in like everybody should change, but I think at least people should maybe challenge themselves to say like, hey, for 2 weeks I'll try something different.
At least, like I said before, I'm not going to push people and push veganism on people, because that's not how you create change. You don't create change by barring something or by saying stop doing this immediately. That's not how it works.
Not sustainable change.
People are repulsed from that. That's just not it. So I would just encourage you to try to reduce your meat consumption. Maybe start by replacing one meal every 3 days with something that has no meat in it.
Yeah, and I heard something interesting earlier, and it's not something I personally thought about, but instead of thinking of it as a way of like, well, start cutting this out, Don't think about it that way. Think about adding more stuff into your diet. Like, okay, now, add some more broccoli or add some more mushrooms, add some more peppers into this. Just start adding more and more vegetables into your diet, and it'll slowly kind of phase out the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Or at least hopefully. And a little bit of meat here and there it's not bad for you. I'm not going to say it's detrimental to anybody, but it's not something that you need, and that it is healthy if you're ingesting it every day.
Yeah. And I think it's just as important to read the labels of the food that you buy as it is to try to cut your meat consumption.
Honestly.
Because, like we've talked about, cutting out your meat definitely reduces your risk for cardiovascular problems. But if you replace the meat, like this was my big quarrel with veganism. If you replace the meat with some sort of processed crazy faux meat that has all these weird chemicals in it, it's probably worse for you.
Yeah, it's probably not good at all. So
yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. So just because it's vegan doesn't automatically mean that it's healthy for you.
Absolutely not.
Right.
Absolutely not. French fries are vegan, and they are not good for you.
Yeah, eat French fries every day to see how you feel.
Right.
I have noticed, too, that grocery shopping is so much more simple when you're not thinking of all these crazy, like, I don't have to make chicken Alfredo one day and then, make ground beef tacos the next day. I can literally just go to the vegetable section, grab fruits, vegetables, and nuts, and like pretty much like water and other stuff like that, and I'm good to go.
Just eat
and that'll last me for the whole week. And I've spent like $40-$50.
And variety is the spice of life, man. Like,
yeah.
You should, that's like one of the biggest problems that vegans can potentially come across, is if you're like a picky eater or something like that, veganism would not be easy for you. You have to introduce a humongous amount of variety for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's very important for both nutrition and, I mean, for me, for my sanity. I can't just eat the same thing every day.
I really can. And I know that's not good for you either, because you're getting the same nutrients and you're not getting all the nutrients. You're just getting one little section of nutrients over and over again. So you're still depleting your body in certain ways. But yeah, variety is key. Mix it up.
For sure.
There's so many great foods out there that especially aren't even sold in like normal grocery stores that you can make amazing meals with. And I recommend anybody to start looking that stuff up.
Yeah.
I did want to bring up one more thing so I just typed in basically veganism, and like the first couple of sites that came up were basically showing the bad parts of it. And like I said, like the deficiencies that you can get. Not only that, but I saw something, and this is on centraltrend.com. These are one of the first sites that pops up, and people get their information from this shit for some reason. But cereal grains and legumes contain a large portion of anti-nutrients, which is called phytate. Well, that's just one of the anti-nutrients, and that might reduce absorption of minerals. So if you just read this one article on this one page, you would think, oh, well, eating grains and legumes and things like that aren't going to be good for me because my body's definitely not going to get what it needs now. But that's just not really the case. There's a couple of these anti-nutrient or anti-nutrients, sorry. But then if you go and look on another page like nutrition.org, they basically show that recent studies show that anti-nutrients effects occur only with large amounts of these phytates are consumed with a poor diet on top of that. So if you already have a poor diet and then you're eating a bunch of just this one thing, it can definitely cause some problems. And actually, vegetarians can benefit from eating mineral-absorbing foods such as like garlic and onions and things like that actually help uptake minerals into your body. And they've also, along with this study on the same site, that the phytate that on this one site that pops up right at the top shows you is not good for you, they've shown that it inhibits growth of cancer cells once again, so food can help fight cancer, improves your immune functions, and protects against like osteoporosis and things like that. And it says not only is cancer cell growth reduced, but cancer cells go back to acting like normal cells, which is amazing. I think that's so beautiful. You're not going to go to any doctor. I was going to say in America. That might not be true. Most doctors are not going to tell you, it seems like you are having some problems. Try to change your diet. Maybe have more, whatever it is, cabbage and Brussels sprouts and things like that. They're not going to tell you that. They're going to say, here, take this medicine.
Yeah.
This will make you better.
That's right.
We're going to put you in a bunch of radiation.
Don't change your lifestyle, please.
No, continue that. So that way you'll come back.
That's right.
But there are definitely... If you look for the right information and don't just stop at one thing and just take it for this anecdotal evidence and look for the real stuff, there's good information out there and real studies that show you what the food does to your body.
Absolutely. And I wrote down a nice, it's kind of big, pros and cons list about the benefits versus the problems you can have from going vegan. The pros are much longer of a list. But I want to address the cons before I get off of them.
Yeah.
And on to the environmental benefits
of
cutting your meat consumption.
I have one more con, too, I'll add at the conclusion of yours.
So the first thing I wrote down is potential micronutrient deficiencies. So vitamin D, calcium, omega-3 fatty acids, zinc, B12, iron, and iodine. And all of those can be solved. B12 more so with the supplement. The others can be solved with making sure you eat a specific set of vegetables. So, like, for example, legumes and leafy greens are very high in iron and calcium. So eat plenty of spinach, that kind of stuff. Soy has plenty of protein in it. It also has, I can't even read my own damn handwriting. It has calcium and zinc in it as well.
Nice.
And walnuts are high in zinc.
Ooh,
so
I love walnuts.
That's another thing that you could potentially be deficient in if you go vegan. But like I said, the more variety you eat, the more likely you are to be healthy with a vegan diet.
Eat the rainbow.
That's right.
Eat every color.
So there are all those. There are also potential disruptions in hormone production, depending on the person. You need to pay more attention to labels as a vegan eater, and potentially take supplements to complement your food intake. And Heme Iron is one that I need to discuss. So there's more than one type of iron that you can intake, apparently. And Heme Iron is one that comes from animals, and non-Heme Iron comes from plants. And it's the main difference is that Heme Iron is more easily digestible and uptakeable or uptaken, whatever, in your body than non-Heme Iron. So you just have to eat, pretty much what I found through my search is that you have to just eat a lot of non-Heme Iron. So eat a lot of spinach. That really will solve that.
That's what it comes down to.
And it's really, veganism just isn't for everyone. It can be difficult.
I couldn't do it.
I would like to say it could be for everyone, but I know that there are a lot of people that really just couldn't fucking do it. And you could have potential hormone imbalances. Yeah, I already wrote that down. So those are the ones that I've come across, all of which are solvable with supplements. Yeah. Or just eating a wide variety. Yeah, it's not that hard. You just have to be more open to different things. And we're on kind of classic American diets here in the South, so you don't get a lot of variety. Right. But there are so many meals that can be made if you have the interest and want to feel better potentially. But another problem I saw, same website, centraltrend.com, one of the first things that pops up when you see this bullshit. It said, compared to their peers who eat animal products, children raised on vegan diets show dramatically lower abilities to solve complex problems and engage in abstract thinking. And also, women on a vegan diet while pregnant show low levels of vitamin B12 and fatty acids, and are more likely to have children with neurological disorders and deficiencies. Which I don't think is true. Probably not. Again, I'm sure that could happen with people who eat meat. Yeah, and again, it's just, it goes back to the variety. If you're eating the same thing every day, despite what it is, you're going to have deficiencies in other areas. So that Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine also said that
in rebuttal to what I just mentioned, that children raised on healthful vegan diets have reduced risk of heart disease, reduced risk of cancer, reduced risk of obesity, diabetes, and like a array of other problems that they could have. Also, again, it helps with the acne, allergies, gastrointestinal problems, and research. Also, this is a crazy one, which I don't think most people know, is research actually shows that milk has little to no benefit for your bones.
Wow.
And in 2005, a study published in Pediatrics, I guess that's a magazine or something, milk consumption does not improve bone integrity.
Wow.
Yeah, so all that bullshit we saw on TV growing up about
it's
milk,
just a fucking marketing campaign like
milk
everything
gives you,
else.
Milk gives you strong bones.
And
like,
I blame marketing on, I blame the rampant meat eating of America on marketing as well, because I know that was a thing way back in the day.
Same with cheese.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
They said men eat meat or whatever, when it turns out big fucking fat hillbillies eat meat.
Yeah,
guys.
Yeah, and they.
But if they have a beer gut, I guarantee you it's lined with red meat.
Oh man.
And Bud Light.
It's crazy what it does to your body, and you don't even notice. Again, it's nice when you come out of that fog and you look back and you're like, "Oh shit, I didn't even know how terrible I felt."
You really just feel better, and that leads me to my first pro of veganism. It is undoubtedly healthier for you to be vegan in essence. Maybe not a strict vegan, depending on your body type, because there are some caveats to that. If you're missing certain nutrients or you're deficient on certain nutrients because of your body type, eating meat every once in a while would probably be good for you. So it takes a long time to really discover. I mean, I'm not an expert on this, obviously, but it takes a while for you to really discover if veganism is right for you. It's going to take probably a few months of you doing it for you to figure out the problems that you're having or whatever.
Yeah, I think that was cool. That is what was cool about that Whole30 diet. For those that don't know what that is, look it up. I'm not going to go into much detail about it. But it basically is a way of taking your body back to the complete basics, and then you live with those basics, your body gets adjusted to it, and then you slowly start to add on some of those things that you were eating.
Interesting.
And then see how your body kind of reacts to it.
Wow.
And then that way, cool. You know kind of what's good for you, what makes you feel good, what doesn't make you feel good. And I will let you know, just from personal experience, you and I talked about this the other day. I've been eating very well lately as far as vegetables and things like that. Not a lot of meat. And so this past weekend, I was coming home from out of town and didn't feel like stopping to get groceries, and also didn't feel like cooking when I got home. I had a headache, amongst other things I was doing at the time. So I stopped by Taco Bell.
Hell yeah.
And I thought, a bean burrito can't hurt me that bad, right? Just a bean burrito. Of course, because I'm fat and have no sort of discipline, I looked at the dollar menu and went, oh, well, let me get 3 other things while I'm here. None of them had meat in it, I don't think. Maybe one.
I know some of them had nacho cheese.
But one or two definitely had cheese. So anyways, I ate like 3 or 4 different things. They all tasted exactly the same. I literally couldn't tell you what I ate. They all tasted the same, one after the other. But anyhow, the next morning, I felt like absolute shit. Like my head was hurting, my stomach hurt so bad I thought I was just gonna vomit. I shit like 3 or 4 times that day. Like it was not a good. I felt so sick. I almost like told my boss I wanted to go home for the day. Like I felt awful. And then just a couple days later, I was back to my original diet, or I don't want to call it a diet, but back to my original.
It's a diet.
It is a diet, but it's
has
just
a weird connotation.
It has a bad stigma.
Yeah.
But I went back to the food I was eating, and then with like 2 days, I felt normal again. I felt fine. But it just, again, it's one of those things you just don't notice. If you're having that kind of food every day, you don't realize that you feel like shit, and then you go a long time without it, and then have it, and you're like, oh my God, I cannot believe I ever put this inside of me.
Yeah, really.
You feel like pure dick.
That's hilarious.
It was so bad, man. I couldn't imagine. You think T-Belt's here for you. Mm-hmm. You think they're here to do good things for you.
That's right. Give you $1 burrito. No, take your fat ass to the store and get a 70-cent stalk of broccoli.
Yep, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And the other day I went and grocery shopping, and I bought $7 worth of vegetables, and that lasted me for lunch, dinner, and lunch the next day.
Nice.
That's all I needed.
Yep.
$7 of vegetables, and then just some rice, or I had quinoa. But
that's what's up.
fucking amazing.
Before we get too far into the podcast, I wanted to go ahead and bring up probably what will be my most major point for cutting out meat intake, and that is a reduced carbon footprint. Now, I mentioned this in the climate change episode. I expected to hear some backlash, but I did not, thankfully, because anybody who refutes this point hasn't done their research. But producing meat takes not only a humongous amount of energy and fossil fuels, it takes a very comparably as large amount of water.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It is very draining on a large scale for the earth itself.
Yeah, it's just natural resources.
Yeah, so it is basically inarguable that it will reduce your overall carbon footprint and your overall impact on the planet to at least cut out meat some. So with that being said, that will be my main driver for trying to convince some of you to at least slim down your meat intake. Is that if you care about the planet, if you don't believe in global warming or whatever, then go do more research and come back to this point in this podcast. I should say anthropogenic global climate change. You know, I got to be correct here. Make sure my semantics are on point. But if you don't believe in that, that's fine. But if you want to reduce your carbon footprint, that's one of the easiest ways to do it.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of easy ways to do it. Turn off lights more. We go back to watch the episode if you want more information on that. But I think that's just an easy thing you can do. Like, instead of being like, oh, I want chicken nuggets, like maybe just go make some vegetables and rice instead.
And you'll
at least
feel better afterwards.
Yeah, at least for one day of the week.
Combating your cravings is something that people just don't really fucking learn to do in America when they can just go out and have their chicken nuggies whenever they want.
Yeah. That first impulse of like, yeah, I want this. I'm pretty bad at like, as soon as it pops in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'm having that today. Like, regardless, I'm going to get that today. But it's actually crazy. This is a wild fact that I didn't know about for a long time, that you can actually not feel like shit after you're done eating.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Wow.
You can even eat like a relatively large portion and not feel like you're going to throw up and want to sleep for the rest of your life.
It's crazy. Like, you can actually, one of my favorite things about the vegan diet that I've been choosing to do, I'm not like a super strict vegan. I will still eat honey, because I'll talk about honey and dairy and eggs. I'll discuss that in a little bit. But one of the biggest things that I have enjoyed about having a vegan diet is that I can eat a lot.
Yeah, you can eat a lot.
And like my metabolism is already really high. I used to eat a lot anyways, but now without feeling bad, I can slam myself full, and it's great. I feel good. It
is great. You feel great, and then that is, your body's loving every minute of it. That's right. And I think something that I've noticed particularly for myself, because I've been on bouts like in and out of the gym throughout the years, and wanting to look good, and I've had a point in my life where I looked really good. I looked physically fit, was bigger muscles, and especially right now, like kind of cut up. But I was eating 7 times a day. I was having steaks at like 10 in the morning. I was drinking a bunch of protein shakes. I was eating every 2 to 3 hours, like pasta, steaks, like everything I could. And I got like really pretty ripped and cut up because of how fast my metabolism was going. And I was on like creatine, a bunch of other supplements and stuff. And believe it or not, I can work out less than I was then, eat more than I was then, and still look better. And it's just because I'm eating the right things. Like, if you just drink a lot of water and eat the right food, fat just falls off of you. Yeah. Like, your skin looks clearer, you look better, you feel better. and it just falls off. And I'm noticing just a month into the gym that like all this muscle definition is coming back. You look better, and you're in the gym and you're like, fuck yeah. But if I was eating hamburgers and going on about my normal diet, I wouldn't even have seen half the progress that I've had.
Definitely not.
Because I've had those times where I busted my ass in the gym but didn't change my diet. And then 2 or 3 months in the gym, I'm like, I'm still fat. Like I might be kind of strong just because I've lifted weights, but like overall, I got like round fat tits that hang down a little bit. I still have that little belly button donut shit going on. So it's crazy how important your diet is.
And that's part of what really goes to show that humans, speaking very generally, are just built to consume vegetables rather than meat. I mean, I can give you a couple of examples. One in particular is the length of our gut. So that's something like the fact that our small intestine is so long it's because evolutionarily we needed that digestive tract. Well, if you believe in evolution, whatever.
Adam and Steve.
That's right. We needed that long digestive tract to help digest very tough plant fibers like cellulose, whatever. Break down the cell walls. We needed that longer digestive tract. If you look at the digestive tract of a carnivore, it's much shorter. And another thing that's just very simple is if you look at our teeth and our jaw. So our teeth, your back teeth are molars, which are flat surfaces that are meant to grind and crush rather than strip and tear.
Yeah.
And not only that, something else that people don't really think about is that if you examined a carnivore's mouth, it goes only up and down, one-dimensional.
Yep.
Your jaw can go up and down and side to side.
Yeah.
So that it can crush and grind. So those are just two very simple things that show you we are much more built to eat vegetables than we are to eat meat.
Vegetables were way more prevalent in our diets a long time ago than they are now, especially, in America, mainly the South, which is mainly fried chicken.
God, it's so good, though.
It is so good.
Fried chicken is, I don't care what you say. If you're a vegan and you're watching this and you're agreeing with everything we say, and then I say that fried chicken tastes good and you go, no, it doesn't, I'm going to go, you're a damn liar.
Then why are so many people in America obese then, okay? Why does KFC still exist?
I get it. It tastes like death. I mean, if you're a vegan for a long time, and I don't really crave it anymore. Yeah, but I can look back and say, yeah, I really fucking enjoyed that.
Yeah,
that was delicious.
Absolutely. A good pork chop.
I miss it, but I miss that sort of that flavor in my mouth, but to me it's just not worth it.
Yeah, it's weird that I don't think about meat after I haven't had it. No. Like I haven't had meat in like a week or so, and I don't even know the last time I don't think about it. It doesn't cross my mind like, oh, I haven't had it in a few days, I gotta get some in. Like that does not even cross my mind. I just go like, and again, I'm one of those people, and I'm a little biased because I'm like the most non-picky eater. Like you can just put food in front of me and I'll eat it. I don't really care what it is, as long as it's healthy. So I can personally eat the same things every day. I can easily do that, and it doesn't bother me. If anything, it makes it easier because I don't have to think about what I want every day and try to think of a new meal, and I don't want what I had for last meal. I want to have something different, and everything's got I don't need that personally.
Well, what I do is I kind of like the variety, but I don't go into the store with a meal plan or whatever. I can't really do that. What I do is I go in, find the vegetables that I like, the ones that I think I'm going to want for the next few days. I just buy them and then cook them in a novel way. I don't know. I'm a pretty good cook, so I can just make some shit up and make something different.
I can do that, but my only problem is I'll run into is I'm just eating the same vegetables all the time.
True.
Which I eat all the vegetables pretty much that are in the store. There's certain things, like I don't care for peppers. I like jalapenos and like hot peppers. I just don't like red bell peppers and stuff like that. But I just cut them up fine and saute them for a while so they're nice and chewy, and they don't bother me as bad. But
I like them a lot. That's something we differ on.
Yeah, I have just so much enjoyed not feeling like a greasy piece of shit all the time.
It's great, isn't it? Yeah.
It is great. And it just seems so, when you hear vegan, even when you hear vegetarian, you're just like, no, I would never give it up. And I don't, for me specifically, I'm not one of those hard-nosed people. I know you're not as far as vegan, whereas, like, if you say you're vegan, you better always be vegan and never do anything different. Like, you're just never going to win with that.
Yeah.
And it's not even necessarily that much more beneficial for you.
And if you can do that yourself, great.
Yes.
Like, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
But you cannot expect everyone to adhere so strongly to that. And,
No.
Excuse me. It's just not realistic for everybody.
No.
And I don't want to restrict myself like that personally. The reason I'm restricting myself to, like, when I buy for myself at the grocery store, I buy vegan. Mm-hmm. Because I can help that. But if I go into a grocery store or if I go into a bakery and I see a macaron and I really want a macaron, I'm going to have one.
Exactly.
I will.
Exactly.
And it's one, and I will go right back to my vegan diet. It might hinder me a little bit.
I barely think your body would notice. It's going to notice a little bit because it feels like an intruder on your body.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not going to put you out for days, and then it's not going to make you a fat piece of shit again all of a sudden.
No, definitely not.
Like,
it's not going to all of a sudden spike my blood pressure or nothing crazy.
No.
But, I don't do that often. But I don't want to hard line restrict myself like that, just personally. And it's the same thing. I guess this is where I can start talking about honey and milk and eggs. In particular, I can't call myself a hard-nosed vegan because I am great with eating honey. That's like one of the main things that I can say that's an animal product that I think is good for you to consume if you like understand where it came from. Eating local honey can be good not only for your taste buds, but it can be good for your immune system.
Yeah.
Especially if you eat local honey, and you have to. It's better to know where it came from, and it might be a little bit expensive because honey's not so easy to come across.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, the ones that are not expensive, first of all, always try to buy local. You stimulate your own economy around you and help the people at your own community, and your shit doesn't have to be frozen or shipped across seas or across the country, which is
with your dollar.
Yeah, exactly. That's already, it loses nutrients the longer it just sits there. But as far as honey goes, a lot of the ones that you see on shelves, you'll see they're like a real light brown, like almost like a golden color. It's because most of them are just filled with water and like other bullshit in there. If you see like real dense honey, raw honey, it's usually pretty dark. It's usually sometimes thick and like creamy almost.
Have a little honeycomb in there with it too.
Beautiful stuff. So it's very. If you're buying cheap, you're gonna get cheap. Sometimes spend a little extra money to help out your own community and help yourself out and get real quality products.
That's right.
I know people hate that about. That's another bad thing about like health food stores is they're just perceived as being incredibly expensive. But if you're still just buying vegetables and just basic honey and basic things to make a meal out of, it's not any more expensive than a regular store.
Or go to a damn farmer's market then.
Yeah, true. But if you go into like an Earth Fare or just any health food store and say you want to buy a pizza, and of course people just think it's automatically better for you because it's in a health food store. It may have better ingredients, but that doesn't make it good for you. Yeah. But that pizza is going to be far over what like a Totino's pizza or some bullshit you could buy at the IGA is going to be. And of course it is. But if you went and just bought the ingredients for it, you could make a bunch of pizzas, better ingredients,
crazy concept
for less price.
Put a little bit of work in, and you can save some money.
Yeah, all the money you're spending is in them prepping it and cutting it up for you and doing all the work for you. So you just put it in the fucking microwave or the oven.
Yep. And since we're on I was gonna jump to a different. I was gonna jump to the ethical treatment of animals, but we'll wait for that.
Well, where were you going with eggs and milk?
Yeah, that's where I was gonna stay online.
Go for it.
So, milk, as you discussed this a little bit earlier, milk is just not good for you.
No.
Cream is not good for you.
No.
It's, I mean, you can tell I don't think lactose intolerance is like a disease as it's viewed. I think that's normal.
No, I think especially children don't need cow's milk. They need their mother's milk.
Yeah. And once you don't need that anymore, you don't even need milk anymore. You don't need milk.
Exactly. You don't need milk anymore. I think a lot of people become lactose intolerant, and I think I'm one of those people because I used to chug gallons of milk, like
Yeah,
literally
same.
chug
I
gallons
drink
of
a
milk.
lot of milk. Yeah.
And I could drink milk all day, chocolate milk, whatever kind of milk. I fucking love milk. And now if I drink milk, I will shit myself.
Yep, and if you eat blue cheese.
And yeah, another I'm sure dairy product, but
Man, cheese though.
but
I
lactose,
fucking love good cheese, man. I can't lie.
There are some really good cheeses, yes.
But I don't crave them as much anymore. The more I adhere to this
Dairy,
diet,
yeah,
that I have.
dairy's not good for me anymore.
It's not good for anyone.
Yeah, milk's not
good for you.
I am not
It's
a
good for your
fun.
taste buds.
Yeah, I'm not a fun person to be around. If I've had a milkshake, give me 24 hours. You don't want to be around me. It gets bad. My body is just not meant for it. And I had no idea, like, why am I gassy all the time? I smell like that little thing on Charlie Brown that carries the blanket around with the dust ball behind
I
it.
don't remember his name.
I smell like that kid everywhere I go, and I feel like that kid as well. And it's because I just had no idea that what I was intaking every day, thinking it was normal, because people were supposed to drink milk, and people are supposed to eat meat, apparently. I thought those things, and I was feeling like shit. And again, once I didn't know that was why, and then when you come out of it and do something different, you're like, oh shit, and then you start instituting slowly those things back in your diet. Now go drink a large glass of milk and see how you feel afterwards. After 2 or 3 weeks of not having any dairy or lactose, you'll notice.
Yep,
you'll notice big time
for sure. Like even the other day, I mentioned macarons. I had a couple of macarons the other day, and I hadn't had. I mean, I've been mostly vegan for the last month. I hadn't had anything really, and I felt them. I noticed them. It was 2 little cookie sandwiches, and I felt them in me. Yeah, which is so weird.
It is weird, but when you're so used to taking in chemicals and processed meat, your body couldn't give a shit about that.
No,
it's just
trying to survive.
It's literally just trying to survive. Like I mean, there's even studies where you don't even get good sleep because your body's so focused on processing all that junk in your body that it can't like relax and actually so you're getting bad sleep. You can't get up in the morning. You have low energy. You're sad and depressed. You're just angry. You feel like grease. You look like grease. You go home. You're tired. You do the cycle all over again, and you're just stuck in this routine.
You're drinking Red Bulls to compensate.
You're tons of coffee and Red Bull, thinking that's gonna like offset that fucking cheeseburger you just ate or that hot dog that guy ate that morning. I was telling you about.
Oh my god.
6:30 in the morning, my man's pounding hot dogs, cheesy chili hot dogs.
I'm gonna give my energy for the day.
Yeah. Fuck,
Good
man.
God.
Jesus Christ, that is not energy.
So let's talk about eggs.
Okay.
I like eggs.
I haven't had any in a while
in general,
but I love eggs.
Eggs are not really good for you. They're good in some ways. They have good cholesterol in them, and
cholesterol's a good thing.
They are protein dense.
Crazy,
but they so according to the BBC, I wrote this down earlier. According to the BBC, they are very high in cholesterol, but there was a research study done over 17 years with over 30,000 test subjects.
Holy cow.
And it revealed that a half an egg per day was significantly linked to a higher risk of heart disease.
Just a half
of an egg. So
that's kind of bizarre.
And that's according to the BBC. So
yeah, that's
from a fairly reliable source.
I'm definitely not going to do that study.
I would, I would look into that. If you are, I mean, eggs are the main thing that I feel like some people might be really on the fence about.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that.
But that study right there that's a blow. That's serious. And I still don't have I'm not going to tell you to stop eating eggs, but I will tell you to just like everything else, do your research.
Yeah. I'm going to do more research on eggs because first of all, that sounds like a really hard study to have. And what else were those 30,000 people doing during that time to maybe help? But
significantly linked.
Yeah. I don't personally, I haven't had eggs in weeks or months. I don't even remember the last time I had eggs. I love the way they taste. I used to get up and eat 5 or 6 eggs in the morning and then put egg whites in there as well. Lord. Oh yeah, that was just the start, man. I used to eat so much food.
That's ridiculous.
And it is Yeah, it's not good for
I
you.
mean, ethically, there's nothing wrong with eggs, which we'll get into ethical reasons at some point.
Depending on where you get your eggs
yeah,
for.
right.
Of course,
Factory farming obviously is a
yeah,
problem.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, some people might disagree.
Like
but
let's
my debate about it.
Yeah, my brother has a garden in his backyard, and he has
Fine.
a chicken coop,
Whatever.
and they eat their chicken eggs
That's
and stuff
fine.
like that.
Yeah, do whatever you want. But I did, before we were talking about, the study was surrounding heart disease. So I wrote down a couple of things that I found from one of the doctors that I read an article from. So a vegan diet can come with improved cardiovascular health, less risk of development of certain cancers that can come from eating processed meat, lowered antibiotic consumption, which I don't know if you know about that. They pump our animals full of antibiotics.
Yep.
About 78%, you are about 78% less likely to develop type 2 diabetes, and you will lower your blood pressure. As long as you're eating healthy, like we said before, veganism doesn't necessarily mean that you're being healthy. You can eat a bunch of fried shit, and you'll be unhealthy.
Yeah, you can eat bread.
So, yeah, it's undoubtedly a healthier lifestyle if you're conscious about what
Right.
you're putting in your
And
body.
what's crazy is that you don't have to exercise for 2 hours a day. You just
Nope.
The majority of it is what you put in your body. As long as that's okay, and I'm not saying don't exercise. At least walk around every hour or so. At least try to get your blood pumping once a day would be beneficial for you as well. But still, I'd say 70% of how you look and feel comes from just your diet alone, if not more.
It's very, very, especially in America, understated.
Yeah, it's just not taught here at all. I mean, I remember those food pyramids in like elementary schools where like milk and dairy is on top, and then there's like chicken and eggs and like all kinds of shit on there. And I'm sure there's vegetables and stuff, but that was never highlighted. Not that I remember. Milk was the biggest thing.
It's always been about balance,
yes.
Which like we didn't really listen, did we? I mean, most Americans really didn't.
No, you go with what tastes good.
Like
you go what's salty.
Oh man,
what's sweet.
It is delicious. I'll give you that.
You get as much of that as you can.
Yeah.
And you don't know when to stop. And again, all of it is about moderation and balance. If you have a macaroon once or twice a week, you're not gonna die. And even half an egg, that's a crazy thing to me. I would tell people, eat half an egg every once in a while, you'll be fine. But not according to the BBC.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, a 17-year-long study reveals. Man. Very interesting.
I could imagine being one of those participants. Like for 17 years, people are studying you.
Well, I don't know if they were studying a single individual over 17 years. I would have had to look more into the study.
Yeah, I had no idea.
But over 17 years, they were probably taking test subjects for, I don't know, like eat this many eggs a week for whatever.
Right, that makes sense.
All right, so let's talk about the ethical treatment of animals. I don't want to turn into PETA here, but
that's a bad one.
Factory farming. This is one of my biggest problems with American diets today, and I've expressed this probably on here before, and I'll express it again. If you watch a factory farming video and say turn it off, or know that factory farming is a thing and very cruel, and then continue eating meat, you are the problem.
Yeah.
Your cognitive dissonance is the problem.
Literally exactly what it is.
You can't do that. You can't pretend like it doesn't exist, because it does.
Yeah.
You're supporting that with your dollar when you continue eating that meat.
Yep.
So unless you know that your cow came from like a grass-fed field and it was ethically treated, or your chickens were ethically treated,
even fish nowadays, which I don't think a lot of people realize, is that fish is factory farmed the same way.
Oh yeah,
they put them in little ponds and toss them a bunch of bullshit to eat, little pellets of chemical food that they made for them, and they all swim around in their own feces and nasty water, and they just grab one out, send it to the store, and people buy it and eat it, thinking it's farm fresh salmon.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves, is like, oh no, I can't watch that. I love animals. I'm gonna go have a steak. That makes no sense.
It would really make a difference if people could see the animal.
It would.
Have you seen those certain milk cartons where they do that? They'll be like, this came from Betsy the cow. She's raised this way, and tells you all about that cow. Dude, that's super cool.
That guy, Magic for Humans, Justin Willman, did a thing on that. So he had bacon out on display, and he was like, hey, do you want some free bacon? And everybody was like, yeah. And they were like, there's one thing that you have to do before you eat this bacon is you have to see the child of the pig that gave you this bacon. And they pulled out this piglet and they were like, yeah, you're eating his mother.
And people don't want to eat it.
Everybody was like, no, like, I can't do this. And then he was like, hey, here, have some vegan bacon. And they took it.
Wow.
So that's just like,
they need that in front of like every supermarket.
yeah,
it's
the disconnect, that mental disconnect. We don't see it happening. Back in the day, you had to kill your own cow or that kind of stuff. You knew the person who had the cow and they killed that.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're so disconnected from everything that's going on that as long as we're taken care of, we don't ask any questions. It doesn't matter. Having that sort of cognitive dissonance is a huge problem.
And I think what's interesting too is people, unless you go and watch like the documentaries and things, which I think federally people aren't allowed to show how bad factory farming is anymore. Don't quote me on that, but I heard that somewhere.
I hope that's not true.
But I don't think people realize like how nasty and terrible these people are. But the people that work in these factories have no regard for life or animal life at all. Like they will basically torture them, drag them through feces and blood and just cut their parts off while they're still alive. Mm-hmm. Like you would think that people wouldn't do that stuff and that people do these things in a humane way, but that is not the case.
No.
It is pure torture.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's studies of this, but I've definitely heard, and maybe you're more hippie than me nowadays, but people say that the energy from those animals gets transferred in the meat.
I wouldn't argue against that.
So if you have a cow that's been in nothing but distress, especially a female cow that has had baby after baby after baby because they induce it and make it have babies so that they can have more, they eventually, as soon as it can have babies, they just drag it off to a pit and cut it up and
that's another thing about milk is that the only way that you get milk from a cow is by getting it pregnant. Mm-hmm. So they get it pregnant constantly on purpose just for the sake of getting milk and continuing that vicious cycle. I had to bring that up.
No, that's a good point. And for any cow that goes through that life and see, it's not like it doesn't notice all the other cows around it getting slaughtered 24/7. That energy that cow lives in is in essence being transferred through the food, and then you're eating all that.
Yeah.
And we think it's good for us. Same with all the chickens and bullshit that are. Why is it that we can see a semi drive down the road with chickens just stacked on top of each other that can't even move? The ones at the top are shitting all the way down to the bottom.
Honestly, a bunch of them are probably on train cars now just because people see that and are disgusted by it.
Yeah, but we watched that for so long, and a lot of people didn't say things. But yet, if that were like dogs, dogs were in cages and squished on top of each other, people would have a fucking riot.
I mean, like, where do you draw the line?
Yeah. How do you?
You don't. And that's why, like, it bothers me when people look down on the dog meat festival in China and stuff like that. Well, we fucking if you go to McDonald's and eat chicken McNuggets, you're eating up ground up baby chickens and shit. Mm-hmm. Like, come on, dude. How can you look down on them for that when you are supporting factory farming with your dollar? It's not any worse.
Yeah, I heard that. I can't remember if it's the chickens or what, but they basically, what was it? It may have been fish. It was something that doesn't have a lot of facial expressions. That's kind of what helps us not think about things when we kill them.
I'm sure.
Yeah, if they don't have facial expressions, they don't make really noises when they die.
Hair.
Yeah, they don't have hair. And they don't have the same sensory inputs that we do, some of them.
But they do feel.
Animals, but they do feel stuff. But they just fucking, while they're alive, just toss them into like wood chippers pretty much and just grind them up and make meat out of them.
Yeah.
And people don't think that. And I know a lot of it is just people really don't know. But the worst things that you think could happen to an animal happen every single day.
Constantly.
All over America.
And you eat it.
And we eat it. And we think it's fine. We don't even bat an eye at it.
No.
What was when the whole COVID thing started, the first thing to go was toilet paper. And then the second thing was what? I'm not trying to trick you, but in the grocery store that I went to, all the toilet paper was gone, meat. All the hand sanitizer was gone, and all the meat off the shelf was gone. Like, people think they're going to fucking die if they don't have meat for, even a month, seriously, I walked into the grocery store and there was not one piece of meat left on the shelf because of that was the first thing people went to. The vegetables, they're piled up. They're going rotten over there because people don't touch them. But the meat is gone in a matter of a day or two. As soon as it's coming off of the truck, people are buying it. It's like,
that's crazy, man.
And people don't think they can live without it. And I'm just, that is bizarre to me. And I can't really blame people to a certain degree because
that's what they've been taught.
Yeah, I didn't know that for a long time. I mean, I never really sat down to think of like, can I really live without, I never had that thought because you don't have to have that thought. But when people put in your face and show you like, hey, the whole meat industry is fucking disgusting on like just a moralistic level, it is disgusting what they do. It is really
bad, and people are cruel as fuck, dude. I think
they are bad.
This one video has been burned into my brain because it was so fucking cruel.
I already know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, you do. But I want to share this with you guys if you've watched this far. So I watched a video of it was years ago now, but it was these guys, they were cornering a pig to slaughter it, and these motherfuckers didn't like shoot it in the head with something. They hit it on the head with a sledgehammer and watched it like it was scared. Obviously it was back in the corner like squealing. It was terrified because two guys were cornering it. One of them hit it on the head with a sledgehammer, and it started shaking violently, like seizing,
convulsing.
Yeah, and they were laughing at it. What kind of person?
Yeah,
what? And that just the image of the pig seizing like that and them laughing has just been burned into my brain.
I will never ever watch that video and never want to see it.
It was terrible, man.
It's disgusting. I've seen enough of the like factory farming. I mean, they pump chickens so full of antibiotics and steroids that the chickens get so big so fast that their legs can't even support them.
Yeah.
The chickens don't walk, or a lot of them don't walk around. They don't have like healthy lives. They're put into little tiny cages on top of each other and just fed a bunch of shit until they're slaughtered and plucked. And a lot of that they're doing before they kill them. It's not like they humanely put each one down, give it a little burial service.
Ain't nobody got time for that, bro.
Yeah, say some words of wisdom. They're not doing that for every life, like Avatar where they stab them and like say a little prayer over them. It's not like that. They're fucking just ripping them apart
these
piece
chickens,
by piece.
You know how Holocaust survivors, like some of them like forgot their names or something and they just had numbers on them? These fucking chickens don't even have numbers.
No, they pretty much don't exist already.
Yeah. They're literally just bred for their breasts because people only want white meat in America.
Yeah.
And if they're not big and plump, then they don't want them. So they have to pump them full of growth hormone to satisfy the masses.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy once you figure out how bad the meat industry is. Like it's literally torture every day to animals. On top of that, you don't even really need meat in your diet. You can do just as well, if not better, without it. And it's just much simpler, more efficient, and less expensive just to eat vegetables and stuff like that. So, and you feel better. So most of it points to like, why do we keep doing it? Why do we just keep eating meat? We have to, we're trying to do our part, and everybody has to do their part to get the message out there that it's just not something you absolutely need. Mm-hmm. And not only that, there's so many things behind it to make so where you just shouldn't do it. I don't want to say people shouldn't do it. I hate that kind of stigma behind it. But
It's getting to that point where like, so let me put it this way. If you were to walk down the street and talk to people just in downtown or wherever you are and took a poll, do you love animals? 95 to 99% of them would say, yes, I love animals. Mm. How many of them do you think eat meat on a regular basis?
80+%.
A lot of them, mm-hmm. Right? So there comes a point where I really think that most of them, if you showed them the cow that they were about to eat and let them interact with it, they might not want to eat it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
There are those people that wouldn't give a fuck.
Yeah, of course.
There's nothing I can say to them.
No.
And that's not who I'm talking to right now.
Mm-hmm.
But if you say that you love animals and you want to protect animals, you love dogs or whatever, you hate the dog meat festival in China, you speak more loudly with your dollar than you do with pretty much anything else.
Absolutely.
So you support the things that you care about with your dollar. Stop supporting animal torture. if you wouldn't appreciate watching how your animal was raised and killed, then don't fucking eat it.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
It is that simple. It's bizarre to me. And I think, you know, I don't want to come across again as like there's a right way and a wrong way to do things. I'm not trying to spread, I mean, I'd like to say that there is, but who's to decide that? But at least we can do is just spread awareness of this is what's going on. This is, you know, behind the scenes where no one's noticing it, where we think everything's natural and kosher in our grocery stores, but it's not. Behind the scenes,
peaceful in the grocery store.
Yeah, it's really
it's
not.
Happy place.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's just truly not like that. You go to a vegetable that hasn't been tortured. I mean, it hasn't been. Some of them may have like fertilizers and pesticides and shit on them like that. So that's a whole nother conversation. But if you want to make a difference, let people know of what really goes on. Open your eyes to what actually goes on and research where your food comes from.
And if you're watching this and you're an avid meat eater, I do not mean to be talking down to you.
No, not at all.
I've just think that you should look more into what you're doing with the money that you're spending and what you're doing to satisfy your taste buds.
Yeah.
What you're doing to your body, what you're doing to the planet, what you're doing to these animals.
And you really have no reason to think that you can't get everything you need out of plants.
That's right.
And even if you have to supplement a couple vitamins, that's better than go watch a cow be ripped apart and its legs taken out from under it and it just sitting there screaming for help as it gets chopped up.
And then, people laughing at it. And,
yeah. And then tell yourself, you need to go to McDonald's and have another burger. So I can't imagine that's going to go over that well.
Probably not. I wouldn't think so.
And I'd hate to, and I don't want to paint like such a terrible picture to that be the reason why you persuade it. It's just overall, there's just no point to have it. There was even that there's a documentary on Netflix. You probably remember the name with the UFC fighter that he went around basically interviewing a bunch of like real Olympic athletes and bodybuilders that were vegans that have all kinds of world records and they're vegan. So yes, you can do it. Olympic athletes do it.
You can.
But they basically showed that the plasma in your blood gets really murky and like thick looking when you have meat and it looks terrible. And then when you get a person that's just had just vegetables and a good clean diet and you look at their plasma, it's very clear and it's easier for your blood and everything to move through your body. It's much easier for your heart to pump out blood to your extremities when it's all caked with cholesterol and fat and all the things that are just squeezing your arteries. Your heart's having to do twice as much work, if not more, just to keep your body alive.
And if you're worried about getting protein and muscle mass, arguably the strongest pound for pound animal on the planet is vegan. Silverback gorilla. Just think about that big motherfucker. You wouldn't want to fight him, would you?
Nope.
He doesn't eat meat or cheese.
Yeah. Yeah,
that man survives off nuts and shit. Fruit.
I love nuts. I eat so many nuts.
Yeah, and nuts are great for you. So my brother's allergic to nuts, which sucks for him.
Oh, that does suck for him.
Yeah, he can eat peanuts though. I think his sensitivity to almonds is down as well.
So is it like a tree nut type thing? Oh, okay.
Yeah, generally, but I think it's easing on him. So if you have dietary restrictions, veganism would be tough for you.
Yeah, I agree.
But man, just think about what you're doing. Do your research. I think everybody should watch the factory farming stuff in America so that if you do decide to continue eating meat, you do so ethically. You pay a little bit more for grass-fed, ethically treated
local
animals. What's crazy is I've eaten the meat from a cow that it was raised by the people they had cooked the meal for me. They raised this cow along with a few others in their backyard. They fed it nothing but grass its entire life. It smelled like no other meat I've ever smelled in my entire life. Off of one cow, they had more than an entire freezer full
I would think so,
of meat. So much, like to last them for years and years and years off of one cow. And this, to me, I don't remember if the other people smelled this, but it smelled like sweet corn. The meat did.
Wow.
It smelled like nothing else no other meat I've ever smelled in my life. And it just, that alone, it's like, it shows the stark difference between if you know what's going into what you're eating versus if you don't.
Now think about what I said earlier with the McRib having 70 different
Oh
ingredients.
my gosh, man.
It's like,
unreal.
How is that even possible, man? It's supposed to be one piece of meat with some sauce on it. And it is definitely not.
Guys, we're gonna wind down here, but we love you all. We want you to be healthy. We want the planet to be healthy.
Yeah.
We want the animals on this planet to be happy and
we
not
are
tortured.
Animals along with them.
That's right. And they feel just like we feel.
Yeah.
It might not be on the exact same level of consciousness, but they absolutely feel. They have nervous systems. They feel pain. It's obvious. Fish feel pain.
Yep.
So just think about these things before you decide what you're putting into your body.
Yeah.
That's all I can ask of you. I'm not going to say go vegan or we're never going to talk again.
Right.
That's not good. That's not me.
Yeah, that won't happen for me either. And again, just with the state of the world nowadays and how everything just seems to be so negative and people are just constantly hating on each other and the media is dividing us and all these terrible things that seem to be going on, I think everyone needs to take a step back and focus on themselves just for a moment. Treat yourself right, treat your body right. Again, treat the earth right and the animals around you. And it's just going to make a way bigger difference than we think. Again, in a time where things seem so stressful, take a few minutes, treat yourself right, be happier, meditate, do some yoga, do some exercise, do some things that are helpful for you, spread positive messages, tell people about how great they can feel too if they do tend to cut meat out and eat more vegetables. I think we can all kind of do our part to just spread more positivity in a day that doesn't seem very prevalent.
And it starts with you, man. It really does. People like to say, "Oh, what is one person going to do?" It all starts with you. Everything starts with a single person. So
yeah, exactly.
Don't think that you're not making a difference by making a change for yourself.
Yeah,
and other people will see that and they'll respond.
Exactly. It's just living it by experience. Like if we sat here and told you all these things all day and then we went out and had some steak and that's not helpful. I mean, we can put the facts out there, but I mean, we can both tell you from the experience of our own that we both feel way better. I personally have increased I don't want to say happiness, but better moods in general. I don't feel lazy and tired. I don't feel like a greasy piece of shit. You just feel better. And not only that, you feel better from the food you're ingesting, but you also feel better that you know that you are making a difference.
That's right.
And some positive change
Absolutely. In the world. And I don't want y'all to think that tasty things can't come from veganism.
Yeah,
you can make really tasty stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You will get cravings for if you decide to switch. Going cold turkey on meat and cheese is not an easy thing to do. I was pretty much able to do it really quickly because I'm not very picky. I just have really good self-control, but not everybody is open to that sort of stuff.
I was tired of my asshole bleeding, so it was pretty easy for me to.
But the point is that you can have good tasting stuff with a vegan diet, and to me it's just worth it. I eat for nutrition. And when you do that, you just feel better. So it's worth it to me to forego that craving for a burger, go home and have some veggies and rice, and then beer is vegan, whatever. Have yourself a beer,
yeah, right.
And just relax, and you'll feel better afterwards. You'll start to understand, especially if you even do it for like a week and you go back and start your other diet again. You will notice.
Oh, absolutely.
So just think about that, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope we've done a fair job at explaining why we wanted to talk about this, and hopefully maybe change some minds, open some eyeballs, maybe create a few more woke people. I'm sorry,
just talk about it, man. We're just here to throw out the thoughts and help other people think for themselves. And now you are woke.
Yes, now you are officially #woke.
God, I fucking hate that shit.
I do too.
Man. It's so ridiculous.
Yep. Anyways, today we're not going to finish with a game. We've just kind of decided that people probably don't listen to it anyhow. But if you do and you're like pissed that we're not playing a game at the end of our episode, let us know and we'll start it back up. It's no problem for us.
Please let us know and like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this and you haven't liked and subscribed to us. So
yes.
We thank you for your time, everyone.
Yeah.
We do appreciate you. We hope you have a wonderful evening, afternoon, morning, whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Cause and Defect.
Cause and Defect. The show for serious conversations with not so serious people.